Okay, so I've been putting this off, and I know I shouldn't have. So we're gonna start. Um, so there's this idea, this concept. We know it to be the Golden Rule, by one name. Philosophy usually just calls it the Golden Rule. Christians quote a specific verse: "Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself." And you see it in many other religions, um, schools of thought, philosophy, and whatnot. All of them are meaningful. Golden rule. It's funny that we use a metric like golden rule when, frankly, the golden rule is violated over money quite frequently. Um, so what it comes down to, though, I would say, and in some ways Christians might be a little bit more familiar with this, as well as possibly people actually from India that are familiar with this. But it comes down to do not harm the sacred. Do not harm the sacred. What I mean by sacred isn't like specifically a cow, or as Christians would often say, the divinity within myself. No, it's a much more broad-reaching term, and as a theology philosopher, I primarily deal in the why. My goal is to understand the why, or at least seek understanding regarding the why. Frankly, science is awesome. Science, in a lot of ways, is far and away more evolved, so to speak, than your average religion. One, because generally speaking, science can tell when it's wrong. It has evidence. It knows when and where to test, to when it can use evidence to prove when and where it's failed, where the problems are. Um, but I mean, I gotta say, Christianity, it's a funny story. I mean, it took how long for apologists and theologians to admit crusades were kind of a misstep, or you know uh, slave states um, declaring that the Bible said slavery was good, when like right after that whole slavery thing, it's talking about if you're a slave, accept your lot in life. It also goes on to say, like, don't do to other people what you don't want done to yourself. So it's not that there's conflict, it's that it's understanding. You have to understand and interpret. The not Martin Luther King Jr., I Have a Dream, but Martin Luther, who nailed, I'm going to get this wrong, that I want to say it's like the 95, 93 thesis, up on the door, was saying that people needed to understand the Bible for themselves. Unfortunately, the quote-unquote Bible is being taught en masse to churches wholesale with very little oversight. And in science, we have tons of oversight. If your calculations are wrong, someone is most likely going to catch you in it. Even the greatest minds are not immune to being proven wrong. Now, this is not to say science is totally without error, but science deals with something called the how things work. And philosophy is supposed to be the why, but philosophy has basically gone by the wayside, largely a dying art. Um, and as a dying art, um, it's suffered. It's suffered incredibly in the interim. What does that mean? So let's take a look at philosophy 101. And I'm gonna bring up with the mother of all whys is do not harm the sacred. So um, the Ten Commandments in the Bible, I would say, are really all about the do not harm the sacred. It's about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet the neighbor's wife. It really all comes down to don't be destructive. Don't be destructive of your community. Don't be destructive of your environment, other people. The sacred, and I'm going to get questions regarding what the sacred is. The sacred is simply this. It's everything. Um, if science have proven that the atoms, molecules, the stuff that makes up me is the same stuff that makes up the stars, then that means that everything is far more interconnected than most people want to believe. Um, and I think according to philosophy, we have to understand that means something. Now, I'm not going so hippie like don't kill a cow, don't chop down a tree, because that's not what I'm saying. It's about don't be destructive to yourself, to others, to the environment. Um, Cutting down a tree, that's a natural process. I mean, trees fall all the time. Lightning strikes, start forest fires. It's not about um violent change. It's not about violent change not occurring. It's about wanton and willful destruction. Like a company that knowingly pollutes a lake or a river. That's harming the sacred. A cattle industry that's toxic to our environment, slaughters more cows than actually get consumed. That's destructive. It's not healthy for anything. It's like a fat guy going to Fat Burger and eating a dozen burgers. It's just as destructive. We have this summit that just took place recently, and their bottom line is about making the world continue to be habitable for humans. It's not enough. That's not enough. I would argue that there is harming the sacred through inaction. For instance, you see your fellow man, poor, destitute on the street. Um, that's harm through inaction. The fact that we're so unwilling to help others, take them into our home, and like feed or clothe them. That's a symptom of a larger issue. I mean, that's simply put, there's something severely wrong, perverted even, and I use the most literal definition of perversion. Something has gone weird with this system that we can't care less about our fellow man. Doesn't make sense. Um, you know what's also harming the sacred? knowingly profiting off the suffering of others. That's harming the sacred. The shit going on in the banking industry, that's harming the sacred. I mean, they're anecdotally speaking, I it's tough to, if we even just take it as a story, um the story about Jesus going into the temple and driving off the money changers. Quite simply, that's exactly what's going on with the banking industry, telling people that what they're doing isn't good enough, and reselling them, essentially what they already have. The whole, you need a bigger house, you need a new car, marketing, advertising. A lot of these are all about taking advantage of others. That's harming the sacred to this very core. You don't have to specifically kill someone with your own two hands to kill someone. Driving people into a corner financially, taking away all their options in life, an education system that tells you if you don't succeed to a certain point that you're essentially useless. None of these are direct, but all of them can add up to a suicide. And how is that any different? Now, I mean, like, there's a good argument, well, it's not my fault. I didn't specifically do it. I didn't kill the guy. I didn't put the gun in his hand to shoot himself. I didn't construct the noose and put it around his neck. Like, it's easy to say that. It's easy to say that. Except, didn't we? Somewhere along the line, didn't we, allow for that? And I really hate to quote the Bible, not because the Bible isn't a good source of knowledge, insight, and valuable wisdom. Because it is. Even if you just take it for parables and some of the amazing wisdom that the Bible provides. Even if you just take it, it asks the question, I'm not my brother's keeper. I don't know where he is. But we are our brother's keeper. I mean, that's if we want to talk about true religion, that's what it is. Being your brother's keeper, not a rule monger, not someone going, "Hey, you need to do all these things." No one likes to be told what to do. It's about doing what's right. I was told by a very valuable friend of mine that if I didn't say something, that it's me who's letting other people continue to hurt other people. I'm calling for a reform of Christianity. I'm calling for a reform of Muslims. I'm calling for a reform of every religion out there. Because what it comes down to, as Will Wheaton put it, is don't be a dick. Stop being a dick. Stop treating other people as disposable. Stop treating people as a numerical advantage, a profit margin. Don't turn people into objects. Don't turn our living, breathing world into a commodity. And, don't sue me, please, De Beers, but don't take advantage of people's love for profit mongering. Diamonds really, yeah. The president of De Beers basically said diamonds are, more or less, worthless. Yet, because of a stranglehold of an industry, they cost thousands of dollars. There was really no reason to do that to yourself, to others. We need better. We need to respect the sacred, and the sacred is everything. It's not saying don't grow a garden. Grow a garden. Be organic. Whatever organic means. I mean, that's a complicated FDA matter. I'm just saying don't pour pesticides into our environment, into our water. That's killing us. That's killing everything around us. Do what's right. I call for the captains of business and industry to rethink treating our environment, other people, animals, natural resources is just a way to make more money. Because ultimately, what does that money mean? Your family lives comfortably for a few generations, and then some asshole screws it up. I mean, what does that really mean? I don't understand how we can knowingly seek to profit off of the things around us to their detriment for a temporary gain. It's asinine. It's mind-boggling. I guess that's all I have to say for now. I'm going to be getting into a debate here. Well, I wouldn't call it a debate. We're going to be arguing between an atheist and a theologian-philosopher. It'll be fun, but that's our next entry into this. I hope this is giving you pause. Hopefully it changes one thing that you do. One. Even if it's only for the next 10 minutes, but it changes one thing that you do. Maybe it'll mean something.